The dessert menu sits before you at your favorite restaurant. A colorful array of tempting indulgences, promising comfort, celebration, and a sweet ending to your meal. Or perhaps you're at home opening the cabinet where you keep a stash of cookies, reaching for that afternoon piece of chocolate, or treating yourself to ice cream while watching evening television. These moments of sweetness feel harmless, even deserved after decades of hard work and responsibility. You've eaten sweets your entire life, and they've been sources of pleasure, social connection, and simple joy. But what if I told you that after 60, sugar transforms from an occasional indulgence into something far more sinister, a substance that's actively destroying your brain, accelerating disease throughout your body, stealing your independence, and quite literally shortening your life with every sweet bite you take? What if the desserts and treats you consider innocent pleasures are actually the primary fuel drive in the cognitive decline? Chronic inflammation, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic dysfunction that you've been told are inevitable parts of aging. I've spent over 2 decades studying nutrition for aging adults, and the research on sugar consumption after 60 is unequivocal and terrifying. This isn't about weight or vanity. This is about understanding how your aging body processes sugar in fundamentally catastrophic ways that younger bodies don't experience, and why continuing to eat sweets regularly after 60 creates a cascade of biological destruction that contributes directly to dementia, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and premature death. Today, I'm revealing the 5 most devastating ways sugar destroys health after 60, mechanisms that are specific to aging bodies and become exponentially more dangerous with each passing year. I'm exposing the lies the food industry has told about moderation in treating yourself, and I'm sharing the truth about what happens inside your body every single time you eat something sweet after 60. Truth that will change forever how you think about that cookie, that slice of cake, or that spoonful of ice cream. And you must stay until the end. Because danger number 1 is the reason regular sugar consumption after 60 is directly linked to Alzheimer's disease, with some researchers now calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of the devastating connection between sugar and brain destruction. Before we begin, I want to know about your current relationship with sweets. How often do you eat desserts, candy, or sweet treats? Do you believe occasional sweets are harmless, or have you already recognized they're affecting your health? Share honestly in the comments, because understanding where you're starting helps you recognize just how critical elimination or dramatic reduction of sugar is for your longevity and quality of life. Now, let's expose the first way sugar is destroying your health after 60. Sugar danger number 5. The advanced glycation end products that age you from the inside out. Every time you eat sugar, something invisible but devastating happens inside your body at the molecular level. Sugar molecules in your bloodstream encounter proteins and fats in your tissues, and through a process called glycation, these sugar molecules bind to those proteins and fats, creating harmful compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AG. These age compounds are exactly what they sound like, molecules that age you, and they accumulate in tissues throughout your body, causing progressive damage that manifests as the diseases in decline we associate with getting older. When you're young, your body has robust systems for breaking down and eliminating ages before they accumulate to dangerous levels. But after 60, everything changes. Your kidneys, which filter and excrete AGs, have naturally declined in function by 30 to 40% compared to your youth. Your cellular repair mechanisms have slowed dramatically. Your antioxidant systems are weaker. The result is that AGIs accumulate much faster and cause much more damage in aging bodies than in young ones. The consequences affect virtually every tissue and organ system. In your skin, AGEs break down collagen and elastin, the proteins that give skin its structure and elasticity. This is why heavy sugar consumers look older than their chronological age, with more wrinkles, sagging, and that characteristic aged appearance. The damage isn't just cosmetic. It's a visible marker of what's happening invisibly throughout your entire body. In your blood vessels, AGEs accumulate in arterial walls, making them stiff, inflexible, and prone to damage. This arterial stiffness increases blood pressure, strains your heart, and dramatically increases risk of heart attack and stroke. Research shows that people with elevated age levels have significantly higher rates of cardiovascular events, independent of cholesterol or other traditional risk factors. In your brain, AGEs contribute to the formation of the amyloid plaques and tau tangles that characterize Alzheimer's disease. They promote neuroinflammation, damage blood vessels that supply the brain, and directly kill neurons. The connection between sugar-induced age formation and dementia is so strong that some researchers believe age accumulation may be one of the primary drivers of cognitive decline. In your eyes, AGEs accumulate in the lens, contributing to cataract formation. They damage the retina, increasing risk of diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration. For seniors worried about vision loss, sugar consumption is directly feeding the processes that destroy eyesight. In your joints, AGEs make cartilage brittle and prone to breakdown, accelerating osteoarthritis. In your kidneys, they damage the delicate filtering structures, accelerating kidney disease. In your bonus, they interfere with normal bone remodeling, contributing to osteoporosis. The research quantifying these effects is stark. A study in the journal Diabetes Care found that people with the highest dietary age intake showed significantly faster cognitive decline in kidney function deterioration compared to those with low age intake. Another study found that reducing dietary sugar and AGIs improved markers of inflammation and aging throughout the body. I worked with Dorothy, a 72-year-old woman who looked and felt much older than her age. Her skin was heavily wrinkled. Her joints ached constantly. Her thinking felt foggy. And her kidney function was declining. She had multiple health problems her doctors attributed to aging. When we analyzed her diet, we discovered she was consuming massive amounts of sugar, a sweet coffee drink every morning, dessert after lunch and dinner, constant snacking on cookies and candy throughout the day. Her total daily sugar intake exceeded 100 grams, more than 3 times the maximum recommended amount. When we eliminated added sugars from her diet completely, the transformation over 6 months was remarkable. Her skin actually looked younger, with reduced puffiness and improved texture. Her joint pain decreased significantly. Her mental clarity improved. Her kidney function stabilized and actually improved slightly, something her nephrologist said was nearly impossible. The age burden her body had been struggling under was finally lifting. The age reduction strategy requires understanding that sugar is the primary dietary driver of age formation, and eliminating it dramatically reduces this aging process. Eliminate added sugars completely from your diet. This means desserts, candy, sweetened beverages, and foods with added sugar. Read labels obsessively. Sugar hides under dozens of names, including corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, and anything ending in O's. Choose foods prepared with gentle cooking methods rather than high heat, as heat accelerates age formation. Increase foods that help your body eliminate AGEs, particularly those high in antioxidants like berries, leafy greens, and green tea. Stay hydrated to support kidney function and filtering AGEs. This elimination of dietary sugar and AGEs slows the accumulation of these aging compounds, allowing your body to gradually reduce the burden and potentially reverse some of the damage already done. Sugar danger number 4, the devastating impact on your immune system. Your immune system at 60 is already compromised compared to its youthful strength. The thymus gland that produces immune cells has shrunk. Immune cell function has declined. Your body's ability to fight infections, identify and destroy cancer cells, and maintain the constant surveillance that prevents disease has weakened naturally with age. The last thing you need is anything that further suppresses immune function. Yet that's exactly what sugar does, and the effect is immediate, profound, and particularly dangerous for aging adults. Research has shown that consuming sugar, particularly in amounts found in a single dessert or sweetened beverage, suppresses immune function for several hours following consumption. The mechanism involves how immune cells called neutrophils and macrophages function. These cells are responsible for engulfing and destroying bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens. When blood sugar levels spike after sugar consumption, the elevated glucose interferes with these cells' ability to function properly. Studies have found that consuming 75 to 100 grams of sugar, the amount in a large dessert or few cookies, can reduce neutrophil effectiveness by up to 50% for up to 5 hours. For seniors whose immune systems are already operating at reduced capacity, this temporary but repeated suppression creates windows of vulnerability where infections can take hold, cancer cells can escape detection, and inflammatory processes can accelerate. The chronic inflammation connection makes this even worse. Regular sugar consumption promotes systemic inflammation throughout the body, a state called chronic low-grade inflammation that drives virtually every age-related disease. This inflammation further suppresses immune function, creating a vicious cycle where sugar suppresses immunity, which allows inflammation to increase, which further weakens immunity. For seniors, this means increased susceptibility to infections that can be life-threatening. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, skin infections. All of these become more likely and more severe when immune function is repeatedly suppressed by sugar intake. Recovery from infections takes longer. Wound healing slows dramatically. The risk of infections progressing to sepsis, a life-threatening systemic response, increases significantly. Cancer surveillance is also compromised. Your immune system constantly identifies and destroys cells that have become cancerous before they can form tumors. When immune function is suppressed by sugar, cancer cells are more likely to escape detection and grow. Research has linked high sugar consumption to increased cancer rates. And immune suppression is likely one of the mechanisms behind this connection. I remember working with Frank, a 78-year-old man who suffered repeated infections, urinary tract infections, respiratory infections, skin infections, requiring multiple courses of antibiotics yearly. His doctors couldn't explain why he was so infection-prone. When we analyzed his diet, he was consuming enormous amounts of sugar, dessert after every meal, sweet, coffee, drinks multiple times daily, constant candy throughout the day. His immune system was being repeatedly hammered by sugar-induced suppression. When we eliminated added sugars, Frank's infection rate dropped dramatically. Over the following year, he had only one minor cold compared to his previous pattern of serious infections every few months. His immune system, no longer repeatedly suppressed, could finally do its job of protecting him. The immune protection strategy requires eliminating the substance that's suppressing your most critical defense system. Remove all added sugars from your diet to stop the repeated immune suppression cycle. Support immune function with adequate protein intake, approximately 1 gram per kilogram of body weight daily, as immune cells require protein. Ensure adequate vitamin D, as most seniors are deficient, and vitamin D is crucial for immune function. Include immune-supporting foods like garlic, mushrooms, citrus fruits, and yogurt with active cultures. Prioritize sleep, as immune function depends on adequate rest, something sugar consumption can disrupt. This elimination of immune-suppressing sugar allows your body's defense systems to function at their maximum capacity, protecting you from the infections and diseases that become increasingly dangerous after 60. Sugar danger number 3, the insulin resistance and diabetes progression. After 60, your body's ability to process carbohydrates and manage blood sugar naturally declines. Muscle mass decreases, and muscle is where most glucose is stored and used. Physical activity often decreases, reducing the demand for glucose as fuel. Insulin sensitivity declines, meaning your cells don't respond as effectively to insulin's signal to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. This natural age-related change means that the same sugar intake that might have been manageable at 30 or 40 becomes problematic at 60 and beyond. When you eat sugar, your blood glucose spikes rapidly. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin to move that glucose out of your bloodstream and into cells. In a young, healthy body, this system works efficiently. But in an aging body with declining insulin sensitivity, several problems emerge. First, more insulin is required to achieve the same glucose-lowering effect. Your pancreas must work harder, releasing larger amounts of insulin. Over time, this chronic overstimulation exhausts the insulin-producing beta cells in your pancreas, and they begin to fail. This is how type 2 diabetes develops. Second, chronically elevated insulin levels promote fat storage, particularly dangerous visceral fat around your organs. This visceral fat itself produces inflammatory compounds that further worsen insulin resistance, creating a vicious cycle. Third, insulin resistance doesn't just affect glucose metabolism. It affects every cell in your body, contributing to hypertension, elevated triglycerides, increased inflammation, accelerated aging, and dramatically increased risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, nerve damage, vision loss, and cognitive decline. The statistics for seniors are alarming. More than 50% of adults over 65 have prediabetes or diabetes. Many are undiagnosed, their blood sugar creeping higher year after year without recognition until serious complications develop. And the primary dietary driver of this epidemic is sugar consumption. Every dessert, every sweet treat, every sugar-sweetened beverage pushes blood sugar higher, demands more insulin, and accelerates the progression toward metabolic dysfunction. Research shows that high sugar diets are strongly associated with development of type 2 diabetes. Independent of body weight, even thin people who consume significant sugar develop insulin resistance and diabetes. The damage isn't just about calories or weight. It's about the direct toxic effects of repeated glucose spikes on your pancreas, your cells, and your metabolic systems. For seniors already diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes, sugar consumption is literally poisonous. It directly opposes every effort to control blood sugar, renders medications less effective, and accelerates the devastating complications of diabetes, including heart disease, kidney failure, blindness, amputations, and dementia. I worked with Helen, a 69-year-old woman who had been pre-diabetic for 5 years, with blood sugar creeping higher at every checkup. Her doctor warned that diabetes diagnosis was imminent and medication would soon be necessary. Helen didn't want to start medications and asked if diet could prevent progression. When we analyzed her eating, she consumed sugar constantly. Sweetened yogurt for breakfast, cookies as snacks, dessert after dinner, sweet tea throughout the day. Her pancreas was under constant assault. When we eliminated all added sugars and focused on protein, healthy fats, and non-starchy vegetables, Helen's transformation was dramatic. Within 3 months, her fasting glucose dropped from pre-diabetic levels to completely normal. Her hemoglobin A1C, which measures average blood sugar over 3 months, dropped a full point. Her doctor was shocked and said she'd reversed course, in a way he rarely sees. The diabetes prevention and reversal strategy is straightforward and powerful. Eliminate all added sugars completely. This is non-negotiable for preventing or reversing insulin resistance. Eliminate refined carbohydrates that behave like sugar, including white bread, white rice, pasta, and most processed foods. Focus meals on protein, healthy fats, and non-starchy vegetables that don't spike blood sugar. Include cinnamon, which has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. Exercise regularly, as movement improves insulin sensitivity dramatically, even gentle walking after meals. Monitor blood sugar if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, so you can see how eliminating sugar transforms your numbers. This complete elimination of sugar stops the repeated assaults on your insulin-producing cells and allows your metabolism to heal and restore sensitivity. Sugar danger number 2, the cardiovascular destruction that's killing millions of seniors. Heart disease and stroke are the leading killers of adults over 65, responsible for more deaths than all cancers combined. And sugar consumption is one of the most powerful dietary drivers of cardiovascular disease, creating multiple mechanisms of damage that converge to destroy your heart and blood vessels. The pathways are numerous and synergistic. Sugar consumption raises triglycerides, blood fats that, when elevated, dramatically increase cardiovascular risk. High triglycerides are often a better predictor of heart problems than cholesterol, yet they're frequently ignored. Every time you eat sugar, your liver converts excess glucose into triglycerides, and these accumulate in your bloodstream. Sugar promotes inflammation throughout the cardiovascular system. Inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein spike after sugar consumption, and chronic inflammation damages arterial walls, making them vulnerable to plaque formation and rupture. Sugar increases small, dense LDL cholesterol particles, the type most likely to infiltrate arterial walls and form dangerous plaques. Standard cholesterol testing often misses this, but these small, dense particles are particularly dangerous. Sugar contributes to hypertension through multiple mechanisms, including insulin resistance, increased sodium retention, and arterial stiffness from age accumulation. High blood pressure strains your heart and increases stroke risk dramatically. Sugar promotes blood clotting by increasing platelet aggregation and reducing the effectiveness of natural anti-clotting mechanisms. This makes blood more likely to form clots that cause heart attacks and strokes. Sugar accelerates atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaques in arteries. These plaques narrow arteries, reduce blood flow, and when they rupture, cause the clots that trigger most heart attacks and strokes. The research quantifying sugar's cardiovascular impact is overwhelming and terrifying. A massive study published in JAMA Internal Medicine, following over 30,000 participants for 15 years, found that people who got 25% or more of their calories from added sugar had nearly triple the risk of cardiovascular death compared to those who got less than 10% from added sugar. Even moderate sugar intake, 15 to 21% of calories from added sugar, doubled cardiovascular death risk. For seniors whose arteries are already damaged by decades of stress and whose hearts are already working harder due to age-related changes, sugar consumption adds devastating fuel to cardiovascular destruction. Every sweet treat is another assault on an already vulnerable system. I'll never forget Martin, a 74-year-old man who suffered a major heart attack requiring emergency quadruple bypass surgery. His cardiologist told him his arteries were severely diseased. packed with unstable plaques throughout his cardiac system. Martin had been taking cholesterol medication for years. His cholesterol was controlled, yet his arteries were devastated. When we analyzed his diet post-surgery, Martin consumed staggering amounts of sugar, multiple desserts daily, sweet beverages, candy constantly. His sugar intake was literally hundreds of grams daily. The sugar had overwhelmed his medication's protective effects and created the inflammatory, triglyceride-heavy environment that destroyed his arteries. Post-surgery, Martin eliminated all added sugar completely, and his recovery was remarkable. His triglycerides plummeted. His inflammatory markers dropped. His energy improved. He told me that understanding sugar's role in his heart attack was both devastating and empowering. Devastating that he'd poisoned himself for years unknowingly. Empowering that he now controlled the factor that had nearly killed him. The cardiovascular protection strategy requires complete elimination of the substance destroying your heart and blood vessels. Remove all added sugars from your diet completely. Your cardiovascular system cannot heal while under continued sugar assault. Focus on anti-inflammatory foods including fatty fish rich in omega-3s, leafy greens, berries, and extra virgin olive oil. Include foods that support cardiovascular health like garlic, nuts, and green tea. Monitor cardiovascular markers including triglycerides, inflammatory markers, and blood pressure to see them improve as you eliminate sugar. Exercise regularly as movement supports cardiovascular health synergistically with dietary changes. Work with your doctor on medication adjustments as your cardiovascular health improves with sugar elimination. This transformation from sugar-laden to sugar-free eating creates the nutritional environment where your cardiovascular system can heal, stabilize, and provide years more of healthy function. Sugar danger number 1, the brain destruction and dementia connection. And now we arrive at the most devastating consequence of sugar consumption after 60. The destruction of your brain and the direct causation of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease. This connection is so profound and so well established that leading researchers now refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes, recognizing that the brain damage characteristic of Alzheimer's is fundamentally a disease of impaired glucose metabolism and insulin resistance in the brain. The mechanisms connecting sugar consumption to dementia are multiple, synergistic, and devastating. Chronic high blood sugar damages blood vessels throughout your body, including the delicate vessels supplying your brain. This vascular damage reduces blood flow to brain tissue, depriving neurons of oxygen and nutrients they need to function and survive. Vascular dementia, the second most common type of dementia, is directly caused by this vascular damage. Insulin resistance, caused by chronic sugar consumption, develops not just in your body, but in your brain. Brain cells become resistant to insulin signals. And since insulin is crucial for memory formation and neuronal communication, this insulin resistance directly impairs cognitive function. The brain essentially becomes unable to use glucose effectively for energy, and neurons begin to starve. Sugar promotes inflammation throughout the body, and chronic inflammation in the brain, called neuroinflammation, is one of the primary drivers of neuronal damage and death. Inflammatory compounds, damage brain structures, interfere with neurotransmitter function, and promote the formation of the amyloid plaques and tau tangles that characterize Alzheimer's disease. Sugar accelerates the formation of AGIs in brain tissue. These compounds directly damage neurons, impair synaptic function where neurons communicate, and contribute to the protein misfolding that creates toxic aggregates in Alzheimer's brains. Sugar reduces production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a crucial protein that supports neuron growth, survival, and the formation of new connections. Lower BDNF levels are strongly associated with cognitive decline and depression. High sugar diets impair the blood-brain barrier, the protective shield that prevents harmful substances from entering brain tissue. When this barrier becomes leaky, inflammatory compounds and toxins can enter the brain and cause damage. The research connecting sugar to dementia is extensive, consistent, and terrifying. A study in the journal Diabetology following over 5,000 participants found that people with higher blood sugar levels, even in the non-diabetic range, had significantly faster rates of cognitive decline. Even slightly elevated blood sugar accelerated brain aging. Another study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that people with diabetes had 65% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease compared to those with normal blood sugar. The Alzheimer's risk increased proportionally with how poorly blood sugar was controlled. Research from Columbia University found that higher blood glucose levels were associated with faster cognitive decline even in people without diabetes, and the effect was particularly strong in people over 65. A study in Nature found that reducing sugar intake and improving glucose metabolism could slow or potentially reverse some aspects of cognitive decline in early stages. I'll never forget working with Grace, a 76-year-old woman whose family brought her to me concerned about accelerating memory problems and confusion. Grace had been a sharp, articulate woman, but over 2 years, her family watched her cognitive abilities decline noticeably. She repeated questions, forgot recent conversations, got confused about familiar places, and seemed to be slipping away. Her doctor had suggested early Alzheimer's was likely. When we analyzed Grace's diet, it was dominated by sugar, sweetened coffee multiple times daily, desserts after every meal, constant cookies and candy. Her blood sugar was elevated, though not technically diabetic. We implemented complete sugar elimination, focusing on brain-healthy fats from fish and nuts, antioxidant-rich berries and vegetables, and adequate protein. The changes weren't instant, but over 6 months. Grace's family reported that her confusion decreased, her memory seemed sharper, and she seemed more present. Testing showed her blood sugar had normalized. While we couldn't reverse all damage, we appeared to have stopped or slowed the progression by eliminating the sugar that was poisoning her brain. The brain protection and cognitive preservation strategy requires understanding that sugar is neurotoxic for aging brains, and elimination is essential for maintaining cognitive function. Eliminate all added sugars completely and permanently. Your brain cannot heal while under continued glucose assault. Eliminate refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar, similarly to pure sugar. Focus on brain-healthy fats, including omega-3s from fatty fish, olive oil, avocados, and nuts. Include brain-protective foods like blueberries, leafy greens, turmeric, and green tea. Ensure adequate B vitamins, particularly B12, folate, and B6, which support brain health and many seniors are deficient in. Stay mentally active and socially engaged, as cognitive stimulation supports brain health synergistically with nutrition. Exercise regularly, as movement increases BDNF and supports brain health powerfully. This complete elimination of sugar removes the primary dietary factor driving brain aging and creates the metabolic environment where your brain can function optimally and resist the decline that destroys so many aging minds. The path forward to a sugar-free life after 60. We've exposed the 5 most devastating ways sugar destroys health after 60. From age accumulation, aging every tissue in your body, and immune suppression making you vulnerable to infections and disease, to insulin resistance and diabetes progression. Cardiovascular destruction, that's the leading killer of seniors. And most terrifying of all, the brain destruction and dementia causation that robs you of your very self. The evidence is overwhelming, consistent across thousands of studies and millions of participants, and specific to aging bodies that process sugar in catastrophically harmful ways that younger people don't experience. But here's the truth that the food industry desperately doesn't want you to know. You don't need sugar, not even a little bit, not in moderation, not as an occasional treat, not for celebrations or comfort or joy. Every molecule of added sugar you consume after 60 is causing harm. Every sweet bite is accelerating aging, promoting disease, and stealing your healthy years. The concept of moderation with sugar after 60 is a lie that keeps you consuming a substance that's destroying you. The good news is that eliminating sugar is the single most powerful dietary change you can make for longevity, disease prevention, and quality of life. The benefits appear quickly. Within days, blood sugar stabilizes, energy improves, and inflammation begins dropping. Within weeks, cravings disappear, weight often normalizes, and mental clarity improves. Within months, disease markers transform, cardiovascular risk drops, and cognitive function often improves noticeably. Within years, your disease risk profile becomes dramatically different from those who continue consuming sugar. But elimination requires commitment because sugar addiction is real. The food industry has engineered products to maximize sugar's addictive properties, and breaking free requires understanding that the cravings will pass, that your taste preferences will change, and that life without sugar is not deprivation but liberation from a substance that was slowly killing you. Now, I want to hear from you. After learning these 5 devastating dangers, are you willing to eliminate added sugars from your diet? What concerns do you have about giving up sweets? What questions remain? Share honestly in the comments, because your journey can inspire and support others. If this video changed how you think about sugar after 60, please support our mission. Click that like button to help this reach more seniors whose lives could be transformed by understanding sugar's dangers. Subscribe for more evidence-based guidance on healthy aging. And share this with anyone over 60 who still eats sweets regularly, because this information could save their life, their brain, and their independence. Thank you for investing this time in your health education. Remember, the choice is yours. With every meal, every snack, every moment when sugar calls to you, choose your brain, choose your heart, choose your life. Eliminate the sugar and discover what your body's capable of when it's finally freed from the substance that was destroying it.